to anyone who hasn't watched or seen my series of haunted cities, these are a collection of games previously Patreon exclusive by the developer Kitty Horrorshow, who created the Anatomy is the one that was hugely popular for a while back. And here we are looking at the first game called Exclusion Zone, which is the only game without any kind of content warnings. Hooray! Bunch of street lights in the middle of nowhere, however. Oh, good? Yeah. The other ones have content warnings, and we'll get to those later. Kitty Horrorshow herself prides herself on just long-ended atmospheric games, of the vaguely unsettling kind. I wasn't expecting these to be actual stairs. Looks like there's a giant lake in the background. Can we get a closer look? Apparently not. Based on local historical records and the architecture of the region, we are confident that it was a religious structure of some kind. However, its arrangements and composition are unlike any similar religious structures of the area or territory, despite superficial architectural similarities. Previous examination teams have failed to recover any furnishings, artifacts, devices, etc. that would expressively describe the henceforth temple's purpose. And while local accounts, examinations of ambient radiation patterns, and simple visual observation of the surrounding countryside leave it beyond question that the temple was the epicenter of the devastation, we remain entirely ignorant as to how it was that the disaster came to pass. This remains the chief objective of all examination teams dispatched to the exclusion zone. Title drop. Oh, okay. Good. I do not see the tower whatsoever. I am not walking on the stairs. Is that the tower there? False advertising. It was a lot more colorful in the vision that we were suddenly given. The swooping asymmetrical fins of the fortress sheltered area have been something of a mystery to previous examination teams. Their shape and positioning perfectly enables them to gather moisture from the air on balmy days, back when the climate of the area had not been irreparably changed and such days were still possible, which is then channeled into the shell reflecting pools set into the floor in order that they be kept filled with water. However, this almost artistic asymmetry is not present in the upper part of the structure, and such a break in uniformity as in stark contrast to many of the fundamental religious tenets of the surrounding area. Put plainly, it seems an ornamental indulgence that makes no sense to us given what little we know about those who might have still occupied this place. One examiner discovered deep channels between the stones at the bottoms of the pool, which seemed to run downward some distance, but were too narrow and solid to be inspected further. Theory suggests some manner of sieve, a mechanism for gathering and storing portable water, or possibly even a cooling system for subterranean parts of the structure, as yet undiscovered. Future examination teams may be dispatched with equipment suited to further exploration of these possibilities. Do not have a drinking game with this. Do not have a drinking game with this game. But for how many times the word examination gets mentioned, is what I'm getting out of this. Okay. Oh, another one? Okay. The central chamber beneath the tower would be, by all accounts, the part of the temple used for communal prayer and administrative gatherings, just as the case with other religious facilities of the region, all of which feature a similar central chamber. However, given the doubt raised as to the actual purpose of the temple, we are disciplined from making such assumptions. This is kind of hard to read. One detail that we find most curious regarding the chamber is the fact that not a single one of the examination teams dispatched to the exclusion zone has ever recovered any kind of talisman artifact from within, nothing so much as a scrap of cloth or particle of ash, while other areas of the temple show clear signs of I literally cannot read that word. Damage and dilapidation. The interior chamber is immaculate, almost deliberately so. Scavengers are rarely so delicate in their work, which rules out the possibility of the chamber having simply been picked clean by opportunistic locals. Also curious is the fact that despite its location directly beneath the extremely radioactive tower, the inner chamber is consistently found to be one of the least irradiated areas of the complex. The stone from which the temple is constructed has no particular insulative properties, which makes this something of a mystery to us. We have continued to look into possible causes of this anomaly, but the absolute lack of salvageable material has proved a severe hindrance to our efforts. Okay. Kind of boring in here. There's not much going on besides the weird scraping noises. Gotta love the weird scraping noises. Just grating into my ear. What's over here? Wow, we can jump really high actually. The Overlook for mercy is one feature of the temple which can be at least partially explained. Were it not for the exclusion wall, the Overlook would provide a grandiose view of the nearby lake, which is a feature the temple shares with all similar structures of the region. All are built in proximity of an inland body of water, generally at elevation, and all feature an overlook of similar construct extending from the main structure and pointing toward aforementioned body. This is some interest to us because we have at least some evidence to suggest that the temple was built with the specific purpose of performing whatever unique machinations precipitated the disaster, thus making the construction of an overlook something of a concession. That whatever unique machinations precipitated I'm sorry. If the temple's original purpose was not the practice of the local religion, then the overlook would be superfluous. Back. A lot of reading. It is possible that some of the temple's residents maintained their old beliefs, and therefore necessitated the overlook's construction, which opens the possibility that the temple's purpose may not be an entirely religious one after all. It's also been suggested that it was meant merely as a prop, a visual misdirection intended to convince locals from a distance that all atop the lakeside hill was normal and that nothing untoward was being conducted. Some of us find the possibility to be somewhat cynical, but it cannot be ruled out. Okay. Sounds about right. Oh, I fell off. We survived. We're fine. We are perfectly fine. What is over here? I want to go into the lake. Can we go into the lake? Or we want to go into the lake now? Oh goody, we're floating on, we're just running across the water. I don't think I was supposed to go this way. But I'm also not entirely sure. Can we get back up there? Hell yeah. Climb this mountain. You can do this. I don't think we explored over in this area. Yeah. Pretty. It was reasonable to exert that the exterior area to the north of the main structure was a pond of some kind. Many such monasteries and isolated religious communes at the time featured similar outdoor areas, used traditionally to cultivate a staple crop that the temple's residents could survive on, or used for trade with the nearby settlements. However, it remains impossible for us to determine just what was grown here. Soil traces betrayed no sign of any of the plants indigenous to the area, or indeed any surrounding regions from which seeds may have been imported. Stranger still, radiation of a kind entirely unique to the modest plot can still be found in the soil, suggesting the growth of some kind of radioactive plant with an extraordinary half-life, distinct from even the radiation that filled the area in the wake of the disaster. Absolutely no historical accounts of such a plant exist in any archive throughout the entire peninsula. Consequently, this small area of ground is of greater interest to us. Examination teams are encouraged to check the area thoroughly for anything that may provide further information, no matter how seemingly minuscule. Alright, meant to go down here. Seems like it. Easily the most baffling part of the temple at large is the pair of carrion stones on the shore at the bottom of the steps northwest of the complex. Nearly everything about them seems at odds with the rest of the structure. As with the region itself, they are of a material that eludes identification, which cannot be traced anywhere else in the peninsula. Their arrangement and indeed their very presence suggests a kind of Calvinstein purpose that would likely be considered Kitty, you need to make this easier to read, please. Possibly even heretical when just to juxtapose with a dominant region at the time and territory. Yet it is obviously to the temple which I've kept hidden. The glowing arches lining the stone steps which lead to the shore, which has been found to be constructed after the temple itself, but the carrions themselves, hitherto impossible to date accurately, are highly presumed to have been there for much longer, suggesting a deliberate acknowledgement of the carrions and the arches construction. Finally, prior examination teams have found traces of a kind of energetic charge in the air around the carrions, not radioactive yet with similar half-life to radiation, and distinct from both the fallout of the disaster and the radiation found in the soil of the plots just north of the main structure. Well, it seems safe to assume the carrions have had little to do directly with the catastrophe. Both their purpose and their existence remain something of a fascination to us. Examination teams are encouraged to check the surrounding area, but are cautioned against protracted proximity. Many examiners who remain in the carrion's immediate presence for more than several minutes began experiencing symptoms similar to a combination of radiation poisoning and arrhythmic plague, with at least one case resulting in death. Oh, goody. Oh, these sounds are unsettling at all. Alright, so those are the arches. Wondering what happens when we find, well, everything in this area. We're just gonna skip the stairs entirely. Just because we can. Okay, can't climb that. We will climb everything we can climb. Note to examination teams: extreme caution advised when approaching main tower of the temple complex. Ambient radiation at dangerous levels. Protracted proximity to the tower heavily discouraged. Eventual fatality is extremely likely. The tower, being the obvious centerpiece of the temple structure, is presumed by many of us to be the nucleus of the disaster. The continuing extremes of ambient radiation originating from the tower's apex prevent approach, which has stymied all direct attempts at investigation into the disaster's most probable epicenter, and by extensions the entire temple's express roles in the calamity. This has long frustrated us for obvious reasons. It is exceedingly difficult to piece together the specifics of such a unique event using only secondary accounts, archaeological hints, and speculation. Most believe the answer to everything is waiting there at the tower's highest point, but our curiosities go ever unsatisfied. We have been looking into potential alternative means of inspection, including possible aerial passes, long-range examination from atop the exclusion wall, the training and applications of Eastern gyre vultures due to their intelligence, mental dexterity, and immunity to most known forms of radiation, and all other options failing, complete demolition of the tower at its base with hope of resultant dispersal or reduction of ambient radiation, allowing for approach. From the recovered notes of examiners Saturna deceased, she was wronged. None of this would have happened had her sisters not wronged her so. She would not have been so lonesome, wouldn't have called out like she did. She'd have kept her old worshippers, the ones who knew how to build her temples and channel her stones, the ones that came from where she came from. She wouldn't have had to call out across the sea to a place she wasn't known. They only tried to love her and honor her here, but our stones are not like her stones, and our air is not like her air, and that's what caused it. That's why it happened, I'm sure of it. She will be vilified once her name is learned, but it was her sisters who broke her up and threw her down. Gods above, it makes me want to cry just thinking about it. How long must she have lain there under the sand, hurting and lonely and angry, and not knowing what she did wrong? And now this. So much devastation just because she wanted to be loved, and because they wanted to love her, but didn't know how. And now she's alone again. Wherever she is, I don't know how to pray to her. I would if I could. Maybe just thinking about how sorry I am for everything she's gone through will be enough. I'm sorry, sister. You deserve better. This was not your fault. Oh, let's hope the apology cut it. Examination complete. Yay, we did it! Assessment, no significant new findings. Yay. Return to exclusion wall bulkhead for extraction. Well, we saw everything there is to see. We found everything there is to be found, and there has been nothing apparently. A whole lot of nothing. Glad to be able to just jump so very high into the air. Dangerous levels of radiation detected. Beginning quarantine procedures. Stand by for extraction. Okay. And that's it. That was Exclusion. Kind of a quaint game. I like how we went into the history of like the whole oh, sisters are if only she was treated better, she wouldn't have caused all this. And it's just like, nope, nothing new detected. I think I found a little silly.